Keys to the Commonwealth, a podcast where we share the real stories of local community members who are using real estate to build personal wealth, along with tips and tricks from professionals across the industry. And now, your host, Landry Fields.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Keys to the Commonwealth podcast. This is Landry, and I'm excited for today's guest that we're going to have on the show. We're taking a little bit different kind of investing opportunity look that can be a little more intimidating for sure. My guest today is a real estate advisor with SVN Stone Commercial Real Estate and has been with them for 4 years. Born and raised here in Lexington, he received his degree from Western Kentucky University and is married to his beautiful bride, Ramsey, and together they have an adorable AussieDoodle named Bear. I'm excited to welcome Wade Haga today to the Keys of the Commonwealth studio. Thanks for coming on the show, Wade.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So we like to start every episode off with kind of telling me how did you get into the commercial real estate industry or your current position?
Yeah, it's crazy that I'm here doing what I'm doing because I never really even saw myself in sales or business or anything like that. I grew up watching my dad as a pharmaceutical sales rep.
Yeah.
But growing up and watching him work, it just never really seemed like something that I would get into, just anything along those lines. So I graduated from Western, like you said, loved my time there, and then kind of got into the ministry, nonprofit sector.
Sure.
And lived abroad in the Dominican Republic for my first 6 months out of college.
Okay.
And then came back to Lexington and worked for a nonprofit for 3 years, I guess. And At the end of that time, that's when kind of the wheels started turning, like, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Sure.
And I started thinking about business and some of the opportunities that, at least from my perspective at that time, that opportunities that would come my way through just working in some form of business. So
yeah.
I was connected with an insurance agent, with a financial planner, with a residential realtor, with a commercial real estate agent, and probably a couple others. And I just kind of sat them down over coffee or lunch and interviewed them. I was like, what do you do and what's it like? And at the end of those conversations, I decided to throw my hat in the ring of commercial real estate. And there was an awesome guy named Lee Webb who decided to take me on and kind of let me be his glorified intern, really, for the first year and a half. And I was just kind of following him around and learning the ropes. And
right.
That's how it got started. That was 4.5 or so years ago.
So an insurance agent guy didn't cut it.
Didn't
no.
do it for me, man. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's actually really funny. I'm sure that's a unique story for sure. I'm not sure how many people are sitting down, just a group of almost interviewing them to see what kind of career path you want to choose. But hey, I think there's a lot of value to that, I would say.
Definitely. I learned a lot, and at that time I didn't even know that commercial real estate was an industry, to be honest with you. It never really dawned on me. And so what attracted me was the business hours, at least as it relates to residential real estate, from an agency or from a broker standpoint. I'm not working nights and weekends.
Yeah.
And then the variety of working with different types of property.
Yeah.
And working with business owners, all those different things were interesting to me.
Let's be honest, growing up or high school or college, half the time the industries that people end up in are never like discussed or you don't even think about or never brought up, and you're like, wait a minute, why don't I know about this sooner, or so forth.
Right. Oh, for sure.
I mean, clearly everyone thinks, I'm going to grow up and be an insurance agent. That's usually how it goes. So,
hey, man, you're going to be rolling that passive income. So.
What's that kind of transition been like for your business, and maybe one of the ups or downs or hardest parts that you didn't foresee or so forth? Obviously, you knew you were jumping into something that wasn't going to be easy and was going to have to take a lot of time to build, but... Yeah,
but even knowing that going in, I think I still went in a little naive. I was told going in that, you should have enough money set aside that you should not expect to make any money your first year in the business. And I said, I'll be making money. Give me 2 or 3 months, I'll be good. And man, they were right. So it was just a slow start, and the pandemic was thrown in there as well, which complicated things. But I think we often underestimate the value of time, and just time and time alone, and just sticking with it and waking up each day and taking another crack at it. And give it enough time and things will start kind of going your way. So that was definitely a challenge.
The word I think I like to use there a lot is habits, which I kind of really harp on to my agents and so forth like that, is, building good habits as far as with that time and being consistent will go a long way. Because as you know, I mean, in this industry or most industries of business or even investing in real estate and the different things, it's all about relationships. And I mean, if you can harbor in relationships and grow those and nurture those, I mean, that's what really can take you far. I'm sure you could attest to that. Yeah,
and relationships don't grow overnight. They take time. So that's definitely true. I think overall, too, in being in real estate for this amount of time, I've just learned what it's like to be a responsible adult. But more than that, also just a businessman in general. Like I think I didn't really ever struggle in school or anything like that. But I've learned that I can really struggle to stay organized sometimes. And I struggle to prioritize. I can lose track of what's most important and spend all my day on some deal that won't make me any fee at all, and then let some huge opportunity that maybe isn't as urgent as the other thing, but way more important, I'll let that kind of pass by and sneak up on me. And so I've learned a lot, and I'm a better man for it, I think.
Time management is so key, especially in a world now where it's so fast paced. There's so much in front of us. Honestly, there should be like an undergrad requirement or a high school graduating requirement for like adulting 101 and time management 101. Because, I mean, seriously, if you can learn those two things, I mean, it's so much more valuable than half the stuff I probably learned.
And not only that, once you're out of school, you start learning those things, but you also just learn what it's like to work with different kinds of people and people of different backgrounds than you, and just people of different personalities than you. In commercial real estate, you deal with some big personalities.
I'm sure.
You deal with people of different nationalities. And I've learned, like, what does it look like for me to connect with all these different kinds of people and try to build rapport with them. And it's been an adventure.
Well, cool. What are some of the things, I mean, since getting into real estate, and especially on the commercial side, that you've learned about as far as using commercial real estate to build wealth? What are you seeing out there right now? What's kind of the, especially since COVID, what's been going on with that?
Yeah, COVID.
Save the COVID part, I guess, for a second. So we'll start with the first part. My bad. I kind of put two questions in there at once. So what's the first part as far as using commercial real estate for wealth building? Kind of, how have you seen that?
Yeah. There's so many different ways of looking at it. I think you go back to relationships, and that not only applies to building business, but also doing business yourself and getting in the game, so to speak. Especially when the deals are a little bit bigger, typically it's helpful to have somebody that you can kind of lean on getting started to take you through it. So there's some older advisors in our office that we really listen to and lean on for wisdom, and they talk about just the opportunities out there for using other people's money to make money, and that's not specific to commercial real estate.
Sure.
Where you're able to use the bank financing and equity you raise to leverage and buy more properties and not have any additional cash of your own into the deal. So that's not new, but in real estate, it was told, probably that same guy, he told me early on that real estate in general is an ideal investment, and ideal being an acronym for income. And obviously income is great, compared with other investment vehicles that spit off money infrequently, I guess. You're getting a check ideally every month through real estate. D being depreciation, and that's, there are tax advantages to real estate. Mm-hmm. Depreciation being one of them that turn into like real dollars that are in your bank account that you would have had to spend otherwise. Equity is something you can use to leverage off of and build your net worth. appreciation is what we all want our real estate to do. Doesn't always happen, but oftentimes it does. And then lastly, leverage again, which is where you're able to use other people's money or the equity in your own portfolio already to buy more, or just own a real estate of a value that you wouldn't be able to afford, on its own. So,
because I think the D part of that, I feel like the depreciation part of that is the one that I feel like is missed more often than not. Like, and we're going to spend another podcast in diving into that a little bit more deeper from the tax advantages side and so forth. But I think that's the often missed one that people don't think about, or if they're getting into this, don't know about in a lot of ways. But the idea of commercial, obviously, it's so interesting because you can be so much more creative. Obviously, investing in single family homes. Type of thing, which is great and definitely a great path to do. But on a commercial side, you can be so creative in what you're doing with it, whether it's land, whether it's a large commercial building, whether it's multifamily apartment complexes or units, or commercial for retail and all this other stuff. So, I mean, talking about like there's just so many different avenues there in what you see in that.
Mm-hmm. There are, and ways to make money in all those different avenues. Being a broker is an exciting role to play in the process, because you kind of get to be on the front lines of all that stuff, and you get to help be kind of a creative catalyst to help those deals happen. And sometimes that's just kind of by way of identifying and finding a deal. Sometimes it's by knowing a tenant over here that you could bring over there to that deal to make it work, or what have you. But each product or product type, the big four being retail, industrial, office, and multifamily, they all have their advantages and disadvantages in any particular time and market. So right now, I'd say industrial is really the darling of the commercial real estate sector, with so much online sales happening now, and the need for distribution and that sort of thing.
So industrial being more towards distribution, or the idea of creating a product kind of thing?
Yeah, it can be manufacturing, it can be distribution, warehousing, anything like that. The Amazon effect has created such a greater demand for industrial real estate, which has increased the rents. And so nowadays, it's just pretty incredible to see the spike that's happened in industrial rental rates over the last handful of years, and that's created just a huge demand from an investor standpoint of folks wanting to build and buy industrial real estate.
Well, I'm assuming even develop type of thing as well in that respect. I assume that's part of it, or learning what land, or trying to reassess land into more of a commercial development type of space. You're definitely seeing some of that in different areas, especially in the smaller counties around Lexington, it seems like.
Yeah, and the reason for that is Lexington has put parameters around how much land in Fayette County can be developed, which has then kind of pushed housing and jobs and other things to outlying counties, which has its pros and cons. Yeah. But certainly there's limited development land available in Fayette County, and so that is where you see the growth happening, is Scott County, Georgetown, Winchester, Nicholasville, especially from an industrial standpoint.
So back to COVID here, as far as how that's going to change things. Obviously, it's changed a lot of things in how either commercial space is used, or maybe business office space, as well as multifamily, and kind of driving a lot of multifamily, since the single family homes have been people are just not moving, or they're holding on to their properties for rental and stuff like that. So what have you kind of been seeing as far as COVID goes, and how things have changed in both those areas?
I've heard it said, and I think it's true, that COVID didn't so much create new challenges as much as it accelerated things that were already happening. So take the work from home, thing. Yeah. Businesses were already starting to send their employees home and needing less office space, but COVID accelerated that.
That's a great way to put that, because there were so many industries or tech or companies that had I've got one foot on either side of the line as far as maybe we don't want to, they weren't fully embracing maybe technology or the way things were starting to change or something like that. And definitely it seemed like COVID kicked everything into a.
Yeah. And like, I think Uber Eats and DoorDash, those were already things, but then COVID came in and shut down the restaurants. And then all of a sudden, if you're a restaurant, you got to have a DoorDash, or some sort of, component to your business like that. Same could be said of industrial. Online sales already happening. Well, all of a sudden, that the 2-day shipping became more and more important as people were sitting at home and doing their shopping from their computers. So COVID just has accelerated that. And then with all the government help and PPP money and stuff that has been really beneficial to so many corners of our economy, that's also kind of delayed, I think, the results that we're going to see at the end of the day, the effects of COVID, so to speak. So I think there's a lot we still don't know from an office standpoint. Yeah, I think we're going to see as office leases expire, those businesses are going to want to downsize their space. We're already seeing some of that. I think we're going to continue to see high demand for industrial real estate as online shopping and online services continue. And then from a multifamily standpoint, that was such a weird time with the eviction moratorium and, different states are handling all that stuff differently. Single family homes are just in ridiculously low supply right now. And
are we kind of past the moratorium, I guess?
I
or
think
are we
so.
Coming out of it type of thing, or it's fading out?
I think so. I try to keep up in the Wall Street Journal around how that's being handled in different states and stuff. But honestly, I'm not the one.
It seems like Kentucky's been not like immune to it, but definitely we haven't had it like a lot of other places have.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fear, I think, during the height of the pandemic around, all that stuff. And I don't think it all panned out, in the bad way, that in the way that it was expected to, which is good, of course. But anyways, back to single family houses, there's just not enough of them. And so, and I think the COVID pandemic had a role to play in this, the demand that people had to buy a new home, but they couldn't find it. So they decided to renew their lease at their apartment for another year. And that, makes...
Yeah, and again, back to the commercial real estate, being able to be creative with what the purpose or use of it is. It could start out as one thing, obviously pivot to a different type of office or thing. That's the nice thing about it. Have you seen, obviously we've seen that in some respects with places turning more into, like I said, shipping kind of places or smaller doctor office type of places. Has there been a transition, or what has it been taking in the sense of taking maybe some of the old office or commercial type real estate and kind of reimagining them into more of a multifamily unit type of things? Has that been going on, or started kind of a thing, or what are the ins and outs as far as the legality aspects of that?
With Lexington being a tertiary market, we oftentimes lag behind some of those trends that we see nationwide. Amazon has started buying shopping centers, old, vacant, whatever shopping centers, and they're probably going to start using those for last mile delivery.
Yeah.
So we see that retail being transitioned to industrial. As far as office goes, in Lexington, there's more office supply than there is demand. If you're driving around town and you see a commercial real estate for lease sign, it's most likely in front of an office building. Yeah, because there is significant more vacancy than the other product types in office. So, as and as potentially more and more businesses start using the work from home model, that could continue. We might see office buildings being converted into residential. In certain situations, zoning and different things has a lot to play in that. But also,
I assume it's just zoning for the most part. Is the zoning aspect potential for that specific area or specific to the building kind of a thing?
Specific to an area, the real estate that the building sits on.
Okay. So you basically have to go through a rezoning process that it gets approved or denied.
Correct.
In that respect. Can you actually submit for that process before you owned a building kind of scenario?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oftentimes that whole process happens while a property is under contract. It's, assuming it's being purchased by someone who wants to redevelop the property.
Gotcha. Yeah, because like I said, that's an interesting concept that I could definitely see. And you're right, Lexington, we are usually, or Central Kentucky, Louisville's definitely probably a little bit more on the front end on stuff, but, definitely things tend to turn around a little bit slower here. Obviously, you have the newer, we've talked about on the podcast, with the opportunities to build a secondary space to be rented to others on the back part of your property. That's a type of scenario in certain zones of that opportunity and so forth. So.
Yeah. I have worked mostly in the office sector, and that's definitely not the most sexy, of the commercial real estate product types. Right. Retail is always fun to be able to talk about if you're, hey, I brought Chick-fil-A to town or something that everyone's all familiar with. Yeah. And then industrial is getting a lot of attention right now, whereas office is just kind of a lot of old, tired, empty buildings. But first of all, it's like working in leasing and sales of office property and helping business owners who need professional office find something to use or to purchase or whatever it is. But looking ahead as these market trends continue to develop, I think it could be fun to be a part of, an office being torn down and converted into something else, or an office just being gutted and renovated to fill the needs of, whatever the market demands from an office space, more open or more private offices, or, could be anything. So it's fun to
take some
about.
Imagination, and obviously if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But, if someone's willing to take on these different aspects of, changing with the times, or seeing where where things are going and where the opportunity is, it's not usually a case where there's no opportunity. It's just a matter of where the opportunity is headed or where it's going, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's why it's nice. I know you guys work with a lot of people, can help figure out, where the best options for the area or for some of the areas around Lexington or so forth. And I'm sure you guys help with that kind of reimagining and walking through that in some respects with that.
For sure. Yeah, and it's fun to be able to work on behalf of people who want to buy real estate or put their business somewhere, and help them find their future home, or find something that maybe could work but needs some work or some renovation or whatever it is, and helping them kind of see the vision.
What about the aspect of the storage facility? So you worked with any of those? I know those have become a hot topic, kind of commodity in some respects, and with investing in some respect.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have a lot of personal experience in them, but just like multifamily and industrial, the cap rates on those sort of investment properties are being compressed, meaning that they're getting more expensive, and you're paying more for a return, for a smaller return, basically. Yeah. So, people us Americans, we know how to buy stuff, and we run out of places to put it. So I don't see that demand going down most likely in the future.
What are there deals still out there? I mean, what kind of deals are you seeing as far as the space? I mean, as far as opportunities to actually get in that are,
Yeah, I think
seems like sometimes it's hard to figure out where do I want to put my money if I'm wanting to start investing in property. Obviously.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, you just got to make a jump and, be in it with people that you trust. And that's the position I'm in. A couple of years ago, I became a very minority owner in a couple office flex. They're really warehouses, actually, and it's been a great kind of learning experience for me as I'm watching these guys who are more familiar with the process navigate different things, and vacancy. What do we do? Filling a vacancy and recognizing that this building needs improvements done to it to be able to attract tenants, and how are we going to finance that, and then what sort of return is all that going to mean for us? There are deals out there. I think a lot of times, and especially in a market like this, it comes down to just knowing the right people and just prospecting and finding them and knocking on doors and things like that.
And that's where the value, I think, in the commercial realtor comes in. That it's obviously not as simple as just I'm going to open my Zillow app kind of a thing, and here's where my opportunities are, or at least get a frame of reference. I mean, a lot of times it's like you need that to kind of, it's not as simple as just pulling up a Zillow app and trying to invest in commercial real estate, no matter what it is.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things about it is there's no one-stop shop for commercial real estate deals, and kind of can even depend on the market. What market you're in, where do you find what's on the market, but that's just what's on the market, right? So then you got to there's definitely another level there, a layer there of being able to uncover things that are off market.
So I assume it's just a matter of time before Zillow tries to do that. Then maybe in some respects.
Yeah. Man, who knows that?
Yeah.
What the tech, what the tech industry is going to do, and how it's going to influence every sector, including commercial real estate.
So you kind of mentioned a little bit you're part owner of an investment property. Is that the only investment property you're kind of a part of right now?
Yeah, I had a house downtown that I was on the fence about holding on to when it came time to sell or really buy something new when I got married, and we decided that the market was such that let's just cash in.
Yeah.
And we were able to. I held that house owned it for 3 years, and just I don't know what the percentage increase was, in terms of value, but it was ridiculous, and so we just kind of decided to cash in. Like I said,
you never know what the market's going to do. Like like double in them 2 years, kind of thing.
Yeah,
some of those. As far as like some of those commercial stuff, how did you finance that, or what are some of the typical ways you see financing for certain deals? Is it different than obviously you need a commercial banker or a really close relationship with that, or multi-investors kind of scenario? Obviously, you probably work a lot more with like multiple investors coming together for a certain property as opposed to like single family, which a lot of times could just be one person.
Yeah, it can look different, and of course, it's helpful to have a real experienced commercial lender with a deal-making mindset who's wants to find a way to make it work. As far as that deal that I'm a part of, I know that we were able to put it under contract and hook a tenant who was going to occupy half of it. And I think by the time we closed, we had a second tenant lined up who was going to make the property fully occupied, or bring the property to 100% occupancy. Okay. And then at the same time, while I was under contract, we recognized some deferred maintenance that needed to be addressed. Mm-hmm. So with the new tenant and with the deferred maintenance having been addressed, the building then appraised for a higher value, and so we were able to use that equity to kind of roll it into the deal. And I think that required a little bit less money down than we would have needed otherwise.
A lot of that's based upon, obviously, the commercial space rental income, projected rental income in that respect.
Right. Yeah. And just the one of the three main ways of determining the value of a property is its income, is the income approach. And so what sort of rental income is it throwing off each year, and then applying a rate of return to that, which establishes its value. And so when you add a lease to a property, it increases its value from the income perspective. And a lot of banks use that to.
Does projected rental ever play about an aspect of it if you're wanting to change some things as far as that goes? Like you're kind of speaking to, or is it usually based more on historical and you have to kind of prove the?
It's probably both. It probably depends. If a bank's really going to lend on a property, they're going to want to see at least an LOI or some sort of offer or letter of intent that some real tenant plans to lease this building and provide real rental income.
Gotcha.
But
sorry, have half your ducks in a row that we're already moving this direction. Not here's where we want to go, and we hope for the best. Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. Switching gears here a little bit. What's kind of your professional or personal goals you're working on this new year?
Oh man, I think a lot of it has to do with just being a good steward of the opportunities that I have in front of me, and serving the folks well that I get to interact with from a business standpoint. I've got several on my plate, and I feel really grateful for that. And it comes down to, like I said, like we talked about earlier, prioritizing our time and managing it well, so that and not overextending myself. So that's definitely a goal, kind of a general goal. But beyond that, I really want to make sure. Last year I decided to be a part of like a commercial real estate coaching program. Yeah, where I'm being coached, not a coach.
Sure.
And I've decided to continue with that, and I just want to lean into everything I'm learning from from that program and from a prospecting, from a presence standpoint, and just to, give it my all. I think this year, Lord willing, I'm hoping to start a family with my wife. And so I know that my time is going to become less.
Does she know this? I'm just kidding.
I plan on, no, she knows it full well.
Okay.
Yeah, she's pretty excited.
And to the habits and stuff like that, I think the older I get, I'm sure you can already start attesting to this, that the older I get, I think wisdom is the fact that I start realizing more and more how much I don't know and how much I should ask questions, lean into advice and people who do know, and being more humble in that sense kind of scenario. It's easy when you're a teenager or a college student to be like, think you know everything, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And but this nice thing is, especially I don't know. I mean, we kind of grew. Well, we didn't really grow up with it. I mean, but I had a YouTube back when I was growing up. You mean how much you can learn on there?
Oh yeah,
man, it's you can learn anything now. And so, especially that's why I think investing in property and real estate, commercial or personal type of thing is so. It's more why don't you? And I mean, you can I'm doing this podcast really to learn, even more so from a relational standpoint, out and move past just the learning on YouTube kind of standpoint and so forth. So
yeah, knowing isn't doing, as I've heard it said. So you can know all about something, but that's different from actually pulling up your pants and doing it.
Yeah. What do you like doing outside of real estate?
I like we were able to buy a new home here in the last 3 or 4 months, and I enjoy just kind of tinkering on house projects and working in the yard. I'm excited for the weather to turn here so I can start working outside. My wife and I have enjoyed volunteering in the children's ministry at church lately, so we get to hang out with 3rd and 4th graders every couple weeks.
There you go.
And then I'm grateful to have my family in town. I like spending time with them. So.
Yeah. What's your favorite date night restaurant you guys go to locally?
Oh, man, there's so many good ones, and I love food. I love cooking.
Okay.
But I'm actually excited to try out a new one this weekend. We got, at the time of this recording, it's almost Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So we are excited to try out the Mad Horseman, which is, it's in the Sire, where I think Distilled was. The Sire Hotel down on 2nd Street. It's a little boutique hotel, and there's a new little upscale. I don't know what they're calling it, but
I've never heard of that. I feel like I pride myself on knowing these, and then eventually there was a point a couple of years ago where it was just I can't keep track of what's open.
It's hard to keep track. They bailed me out because I was late to the game and getting a Valentine's Day reservation, and literally every restaurant in town is booked right now.
Yeah.
And then I saw that one hit the paper, and I was like, well, maybe they, since they're new, and I called them up, and
there you go.
Boom, it worked.
Well, you have to tell me how it is.
Yeah.
What was your first car you owned?
Saturn Vue. They don't make them anymore.
Yeah. They don't make my first car anymore either. So
what was that?
Well, I guess I've avoided saying it to this point, even though I ask everybody. But it was a Mitsubishi Mirage.
Sounds nice.
It sounds small, is what it sounds like. But it was I think it was a steal of a deal, and it was only had 35,000 miles on it for $5,000. I paid cash and had saved up, and was like, all right, well, this is going to get me through senior year of high school and all the way through college and more at least without any problems. So that was kind of.
Did it?
Wasn't sexy, but yeah, it got me all the way through.
Got you through? Good.
Yeah. I packed too many people in that car and, so forth. So, wrapping this up though, I mean, if anybody's interested in getting into commercial real estate or kind of wants to take us to some advice from somebody in that profession as far as what they could do maybe with their property or so forth, how can they get a hold of you to kind of talk more about that with you? Yeah.
Email and phone's probably the best. You just want me to share my info? Yeah, okay. Wade, my name's Wade Haga, wade.haga, Haga, @svn.com. SVN, Stone Commercial Real Estate, is my commercial real estate is the company I work for. That's SVN as in Sam, Victor, Nancy, and then I'm 859-285-2202.
Perfect. Appreciate you coming on for your time today and coming on the show. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and make sure to subscribe. And look forward to having everyone join us for the next week on another awesome episode of the Keys to the Commonwealth podcast. Wade, thanks again, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
To learn more about this podcast, visit our page at keystothecommonwealth.com. To To connect with Landry regarding insuring your investment portfolio, email Landry at novainsuranceGroup.com or call 859-687-2004.